Oh, snap! It's another Snap review from the Family Gamers.
It's the Poison Vendor Association annual gala. You need to use this opportunity to prove how sneaky you are and poison the drinks of your competition.
This is a Snap review for Poisons, a game for 3 to 8 players by Chris Darsaklis and Bruno Feduti. It's published by Ankama Games and brought to the United States by Luma Imports. An entire game of Poisons plays in about 15 minutes or less, and it's appropriate for really ages 7 or 8 and up. So, Anitra, let's talk about the art in Poisons. I love it.
The illustrations here by Marian Arbona, they're delightful. The characters are just creepy enough, think kind of Tim Burton-esque, and also kind of surreal.
It's adorable.
But
I mean, weirdly.
Yeah, there's nothing explicitly like scary or violent. Frog guy here is probably the grossest one. I really like that. It gives the right feeling for a game where that's all about poisoning each other.
The graphic design is great on these two. It's very easy to tell who each card belongs to when they're distributed into a goblet, which we'll explain in a minute. Both the picture on the back of the cards and the colored background behind the cup or the bottle or the potion or whatever is very, very clear. The point tokens are the weakest part of the art design, I guess. They're fine, but they're just point tokens.
They're just point tokens.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the mechanics and how you play the game.
Sure. So, in the base game with no special cards, each character has a hand of cards with one poison and with the rest of their cards representing plain drinks.
So you take your character card and you slide it towards the player on your left on the table. Then they place a card from their hand face down underneath your character card.
You keep sliding your character cards around the table and placing a drink card underneath. You can almost think of this kind of like a drafting game where you're passing your hand, but you're passing the characters instead. When your character gets back to you, it's time to decide whether or not you want to drink.
So everyone sticks their hands out. On the count of 3, you show thumbs up, drink, or thumbs down, don't drink. Anyone who chooses not to drink gets exactly 1 point this round. But if you take a risk and drink your goblet, then you need to reveal all the cards. You only get points if there is no poison hiding in the stack.
A game of Poisons lasts 4 rounds. You increase the risk and the reward by including special drinks in later rounds. These replace one of your plain drink cards to place in another person's goblet. All players use the same randomly selected card in each round. Each round, the point value for each player's hand is randomized, so it starts to provide some incentive on who you might want to poison. After 4 rounds, the player with the most points wins. So, Anitra, what did we expect with Poisons?
Well, our whole family, except for Andrew, enjoys a game called In Vino Morte, which is a microgame where a dealer passes out a single card to each player, either drink or poison.
With Poisons, I was actually really excited to see whether or not giving it a little bit more meat, whether or not that would work out well for me.
Because there's a different way to play if you only have 3 players, the minimum play count. This made me a little nervous because a lot of games will claim to support a player count that doesn't actually work in practice. But that leads into our first surprise. The 3-player count worked really well.
So when you play a 3-player game, you actually just play with 2 characters in front of you, and you double fist your voting. I enjoyed playing Poisons. I definitely enjoyed it more than In Vino Morte.
It was a surprise!
I liked that there was more game here, especially with those special cards. It really gives you something to think about. And the strategies around who you decide to poison, because you really only have 1 poison card, are really, really interesting, especially with the variable scoring for the hands.
It's certainly a more complex game than I was expecting, but it's definitely not a hard game. The other surprise to me is that not all of our kids really enjoyed Poisons. It's hard for me to say exactly why, but I think it's the chaos, not being able to affect what's in your own cup, and having to guess every round, should I drink or should I not drink? If you choose not to drink it, you'll only get 1 point, and that's a hard decision to make.
So, Anitra, what did we think of Poisons by Ankama?
Well, first of all, this is a great game for all ages. as long as the theme doesn't bother you. There is no reading required at all. A little bit of knowledge of math or probability, or your family member's inclination to poison you, would probably help. I love that this game plays up to 8 players with no changes at all to the rules.
That's right. And the 3-player version of this, the rule variant for 3 players, I actually really enjoyed a lot because it kind of calmed the game down. And so, Anitra, what do you think we should rate Poisons from Ankama and Luma?
I think we're going to give it 4 poisoned goblets out of 5.
And that's Poisons
In a snap.